I wanted to draw something with both architectural details and nature, leaves, trees, maybe flowers. Hence the idea of forgotten library. And when I was walking and looking around, I found this book from where I want to tell you a story. Have you ever noticed how at night sky is full of shiny little lights that are lanterns sent up to awake dragons? But don't you worry, they won't hurt you. They are to protect, because since frozen mountains received their name, the world is in danger. Iced giants arise and overshadowed this land. Springs became weak, summers short and busy. But autumns, still full of colors everywhere, on trees and fields. Red apples, orange leaves, golden wheat, and sky tinted every evening. And then comes winter, when sun is too low to overcome giants. Snow once white turns black. Days are short and dark. Many have left, looking for other places to live. We are still waiting for news from them, but no message ever arrived. Swords are useless. How could one take down giants who are hiding the sun? Is there anything we can do except fight our everyday battles, tear out crops from cold soil, get along with ground that unwillingly gives away their fruits? They said there was once a bowman shooting fairy arrows to drive off giants, yet they only got mad and hit the land with 100 days snowstorm in the middle of summer. And we were forced to step down, never rise again, focus solely on survival. We adapt, we learned how to live and what can be harvested, and some things became forgotten. Maybe this is why this library looks like that, abandoned in hurry, with all books left behind. Almost all books, except this one that I took out of curiosity and I am reading it now. And I wonder, will it always be like that? How does it feel to turn your face to the sun on a warm spring day? How summers look, spent by the river, when you soak your feet in cold water, hiding from heat, not to be worried about harvesting crops on time and have enough to survive long nights that are coming. In ancient times, dragons were protecting this land, warming up ground with their breaths. They are stories, hard to believe, more like legends or fairy tales, about days so warm that you could cook an egg on a hot stone right in the middle of a field. Trees were singing with wind, and first falling snowflakes were welcome with laughter and joy. We didn't appreciate the dragons until they were gone. One winter they fell asleep to never wake up. Some said that it was because the sky got too cold, so we are sending up lanterns, more and more each year, but that's never enough. Others say that we should go and awake dragons ourselves, but when dragons asleep, they became mountains, and you can't find them. One could walk right on a dragon's head and don't even know that. And what if we build our cities over them? What if we dig up tunnels inside them and stole their hearts? How will they ever return? It may seem like everything what is good and bright remain only in our memories. But this is not a sad story. The story that I want to tell just began. First person who saw ice giants was a man called Lurus Pine, a farmer living down the stream, few hours' walk from main city. On a spring day, he was planting early beetroots with his face close to the ground to plant seeds precisely where he wanted them, when he felt ice breeze and his dog was barking unusually loud. He straightened up, and they were there, standing, rooting, with their shadows growing longer and longer. At this moment, Lurus knew that beetroots have to wait. The second was Ima. She was fishing when the river froze. And something unexpected happened. Ima froze too. But not like some may think that she turned into an ice statue. She froze in time, and that means that she was young, and she stayed young. Some say that it was because she looked into giants' eyes and she became like them, everlasting. But that happened so long ago that how could one know for sure? So Ima was. She had a cat that was enormous, bigger than a horse. The cat came one day, and he stayed. He was also like giants. During the 100-day snowstorm in the middle of summer, they built themselves an igloo and slept through the whole winter. Other time, Ima put dried apples, nuts, and gingerbread cookies on a snow-covered trees in the forest. Birds and four-paws creatures feasted for days. She also lighted a fire and roasted marshmallows on a stick. Her cat didn't like that, and the smoke was biting his eyes. She was finding what was long lost, and has done things that have never been done. When our story begins, she was walking up the river. On her left was east, where open plains lead to unknown lands. On the right, frozen mountains carved a wide arc around the bay, failing down steep slopes straight into foaming waves. They looked like icicles emerging from water. Ships and fishing boats used to sail on this sea, yet now it was full of ice floes and dangerous to navigate. The river flowed into the sea, silvering in the sun, close to the giants still covered with ice in places. Its spring was in the south, in unattainable places hidden from world, in mountains with unfriendly ridges grinning like broken teeth. That is where Ima was heading. The river was called Frozen. The sea was also frozen. Frozen mountains, frozen valley, frozen everything. They couldn't get simpler when naming things. From time to time, Ima was turning around to look at the giants standing between her and the sea. They seemed little from where she was now, yet the cold was still perceptible. It was late spring. Days have become longer and warmer. Ima could left her winter coat and only took light backpack. Her friend had to keep his furry layer, so he was grumpy for some time. The path led uphill. Soon they got tired and sweaty. A cold breeze from ice giants was a nice refreshment. River became a stream. Day passed into night. They lay down under shiny sky, counting lanterns. Sometimes a lantern fell down and you could make a wish. "Good night," she called. And so it was. A good night when they slept until morning awake them. For breakfast they ate peanut butter, apples and raisins. Apples were from last autumn, and peanut butter they found in dungeons of an abandoned fortress. Looks like more things got forgotten, not only libraries and books. Maybe the day after tomorrow we could watch sunrise from the peak over there, said Emma, pointing a mountain. Snow on its top was blushing in morning light. They walked all day, avoiding clefts and loose stones. The path wasn't as easy as yesterday. Few times they had to return and find a different way. Slopes were steep, sharp stones hurting their hands and paws. Mountains, surprised that they have visitors, were letting them know that no guests are invited in those regions and that they are unwelcome. And from what Emma knew, nobody even climbed those mountains. They don't even had a name. There were no stories about them, no memories, no maps. Nevertheless, they were always there. And after a very long time of living in their shadow, in Emma's heart awakes a desire to explore them. They had to rest earlier than they planned that day, but 2 days later in the afternoon they climbed an unnamed mountain top. They stood there and realized that all this time everyone was lying. Our legends are never the true. They are rather hopes and wishes of those who told them. Like this one, about mountains growing up from seeds that the giants sow and carefully tender. Yet we've all seen giants. They grow nothing, not even a tiniest radish, not to mention a mountain. Trees were supposed to be creatures that lost their legs and now they are longing for freedom. Rain is moon's tears, and rivers, ribbons that fell out of autumn's basket. When it's raining, we wonder what offended the moon. When trees sway in strong wind, we say that they try to run away. Yet Emma was familiar with the forest. Many of those oaks, birches and pines she remembered as little seedlings and was watching them grow. She knew that they were happy exactly where they stood, with their roots reaching deep down into the ground. We all know that those stories were once fairy tales told to children, yet we got used to them as they have grown into our thoughts and words. And what about dragons? Stories, beautiful yet almost forgotten. Emma lived long, but she wasn't there when dragons left and iced giants arrived 200 years later. She had no memories of those warm days that she could carry for the future. Who said that the sky got too cold? Or that dragons turn into mountains when they're asleep? Who was the first one that told us those stories? No matter how many lanterns we would send up, they could never awake dragons, because dragons weren't sleeping. Emma was looking at the land, warmed up by their breath. Rose-colored lake with silver fishes shimmering in the sun. If she could see them from that far, then how big were they? Meadows full of flowers, orchards of blooming trees, wide lowlands filled with life. And far away, blurred by layers of air, yet they were there, living dragons. Why they haven't came back? Emma couldn't ask them. They have come a long way, a way that no man or cat ever walked before, yet now they stopped. Beneath their feet the mountains descended almost vertically, A few hundred meters down, ridges stretched out of sight in both directions, a boundary impossible to pass. So they stood on unnamed mountain's top and were looking down. "We will figure out a way down," decided Emma. "Unless they will see us and send dragons to bring us there," she said, unsure who those they were. Before night came, they found a place to sleep in a grove to have a view at that distant land, and when they fell asleep, they were dreaming about dragons flying towards them. Our story pauses here, as ink dried and I can close my sketchbooks. Thank you for listening. Maybe my background practice made you wonder about other times and places.